everybody. My name is Phoenix Kawamoto, and I would like to welcome you to this conversation that we're having with some of our local responders in regards to mental health crisis when something occurs either within our families or a group of our friends or at a community location. For those of you I have not had the opportunity to meet, I am the Community Education Coordinator here for the town of New Paltz, and I'm honored to work with all of these individuals and many more whom you will be seeing in the next video with mental health service providers. This video is in response to a request for some support and some information given these extraordinary times we are in on how do I respond if I see somebody who appears to be in crisis and I don't know what to do. Do I call the police? Do I call New Paltz Rescue? What is the best way to lend a hand in times like that and be a good family member or friend or community member? So with that, I'm going to call upon my colleague, Chief Lucchese, because one of the questions I know that comes up, Chief, is there can be concern or anxiety about calling any police department when there's a situation with someone that might be having a mental health crisis. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to learn how New Paltz PD is trained to respond and hear more about that. So if you can help shed some light on that and help our community, that would be great.
Thanks, Phoenix. First off, I just want to thank you for putting this together. And I think the first thing I'd like to do is just let our community know that this police department works with an interdisciplinary team that's comprised of your office, Jim's offices, as well as other mental health providers. And so, that communication is making this possible. And I'm greatly appreciative of you allowing us to participate or having us participate in this. We certainly understand the concerns that people have when contacting the police for people in crisis. We have made mental health training a priority. I think over the last 4 or 5 years, Officer Phil Kraus has been, our agency's lead in that. He's a certified instructor for a police mental health in-service instructor. He's a certified crisis intervention team instructor, and he works with Chris Dennehy from Step One to train our personnel as well as personnel throughout the county. So I think the best thing I can do right now is turn it over to him to talk about the training that we have implemented within our agency and what we're also doing as a profession on the county level.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Hi, Phil.
Hello. So thanks, Chief. So as the Chief has just said, I'm a critical incident team trainer. I initially was just trained to be on the critical incident team, and then I've been trained to be a trainer. Ulster County has put on critical incident team training the past 3 to 4 years. We've done 1 or 2 sessions a year. Currently, and if you could just correct me if I'm wrong, I believe 20% of our agency right now is certified as critical incident team responders. The rest of us in the academy, right now what they're teaching is called Fundamentals of Crisis Intervention Skills for Law Enforcement. That everybody that goes to the Police Academy in New York State gets that training. Chris Dennehy and I put a condensed version of that training on as our every other year training for the New Paltz Police. Which basically is a course in de-escalation and responding to people in mental health crisis. I also am on the SIM committee, which is a strategic mapping, which consists of police and mental health professionals trying to most effectively and efficiently get people to the proper help that they need. Whether it's through police intervention or through interventions from mobile mental health, or just other community members, getting them directly there. And we're just looking at ways to streamline it and get officers the information they need so they can get the proper help to people in crisis.
That's so important. In New Paltz, I've had the privilege of being part of this really incredible, as Chief Lucchese mentioned, an interdisciplinary team. I work with members of the New Paltz community from multiple sectors. And, in Ulster County in particular, we have really created some important networks of different agencies and service providers. And with the New Paltz, thanks to the initial grant that we first had that brought me here, we've really cultivated, I think, a very strong team in how we are looking at how we can best be of service. And these are extraordinary times. There's no question about it. And so it's really important to understand. I think we're doing what we can mostly behind the scenes, and folks don't really know all of what's going on or how to reach out. Who's the best people to contact. Some folks may know that we sent out an info card that actually went out in the mail that had a number of different help numbers to contact regarding services and different things that were available in the community. And on one side of the card, Jim Tinger, the New Paltz Youth Program, and I are listed as town offices and programs that are available. And I have had really, again, the privilege of working with Jim now for almost 9 years in this capacity of working very closely in how we address and respond and collaborate. And Jim, I welcome you to this discussion, and you do so many different things, so much more than the director of the New Paltz Youth Program, and really value what you have to share with us. And please take it away.
Thanks, Phoenix. I think on the topic, there are some really important things to bring up. I mean, one is that I think, having people feel comfortable. I mean, when we talk about the idea of what if you encounter someone in town, downtown, that seems to be struggling, what if you see that? When we do some of these trainings, the idea is that we try to empower people to feel comfortable enough to approach those on the street that maybe, considering like they're having some sort of an issue or a crisis, and I think a lot of times we worry about, how are they going to react to that, and you think about like, what's the worst possible thing that could happen if you ask somebody, are you okay? Do you need help? I'd like to help you, can I offer some help to you? Do you need me to call someone for you? Are you okay? And a lot of times it really is just asking. You don't need to be a mental health professional to just offer assistance. We've seen this in the research over and over again of people who have going through struggles, that if someone just kind of approached me and asked, how I was doing, I might have told them, and maybe I could have gotten some assistance. So I think that basic principle of just offering help to people that you think could possibly use it. I annoy people often and just ask, are you okay? Can I help? My wife gets on me sometimes because I'll like pull off to the side of the road and be like, are you guys all right? Because it seems like there's a struggle going on. So maybe I take it a little too far. But I think, in general, I think just walking up to people and just asking how you doing, saying hi to people and seeing how you are. I think that helps just in a mental health basics. There's a lot of great resources in this community. I've said this over and over again. We have a wonderful police department, Chief Lucchese, I think we refer to him as a social worker sometimes because he does take that approach to it. And I think he passes that along to his officers for sure. So I think that's a great resource as well. I think it's important to get as much information as possible. People are scared that if I talk to somebody about what I'm going through, that they're going to put me away, right? Or the police are going to arrest me or whatever. And that's just not the case. I think I'm a big fan of information and getting as much information. What you do with that information is up to you. No one's going to force anyone to be in the hospital. No one's going to, unless it's a really extreme situation, but no one's going to force you to, get help if you don't want it, right? So, especially when it comes to mental health stuff. So understanding what is available and trying to find that information if you're in the public is really vital. You know, I mean, I always recommend people call us at the youth program, even though we work with middle school, high schoolers. You know, we know, my staff, I mean, we know a lot about what's available in the county. And if we can't help you ourselves, we will find somebody who will. So I think that's really important as well. What else did I want to say? I forget. But I just think it's just important to feel comfortable to ask people if they need help, and also to try to find out what is available to them. You know, like I said, there's a lot of great resources around here, so it's important to find these things out.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, a simple thing of kindness, right? People often don't are afraid to just, hey, you look like you're having a hard time.
Yeah. I got to say,
know.
when I first came to New Paltz, it was probably off the subject, but when I first came to New Paltz, and I remember being in college and walking down the street and someone said hi to me. And being from Long Island, I was like, what? Like, do I know that guy? Who's talking to me? Why is that guy talking to me? You know what I mean? And I realized afterwards, like, oh, it's just being nice, saying, hi, good morning, how are you? You know what I mean? And I try to do that all the time when I see people as well, because I think it feels good when people just kind of reach out and kind of throw a little positivity your way. What's wrong with that? What's the worst that's going to happen again? You feel a little embarrassed, whatever. So, yeah, absolutely.
Phoenix, if I could just pick up on something Jim said, in terms of what's available for us, we understand that very often we may be that first phone call. And so we want people to understand, number one, that we have implemented training to help us cope with those situations, but we're also aware enough to understand that we can't always handle them and we may not be the best option. So we work with other mental health providers, including the mobile mental health team in Ulster County, whenever possible. If a person is in crisis and not an immediate danger to themselves or others, we will contact mobile mental health. We may still respond, but we may wait until mobile mental health is available so that we have trained personnel there. It's not just the training that Officer Krause had spoke about and that we've been doing is something that we're integrating within every aspect of our training. So we just had we use mental health and substance abuse incidences, and we integrate those into some reality-based training so that our officers can recognize when an individual is in crisis, and then they understand how they may need to, what the appropriate way to handle that situation is. Trying to differentiate and really get our people comfortable with what Jim said. Ask them, are you thinking of killing yourself? Are you okay? And so that I know was focus of some of our recent training was just getting the officers themselves comfortable to doing that. But and again, just using the resources that are available to us as an agency, understanding we may not necessarily be the best option, but we sometimes are the first option that responds.
Thank you so much. And I think that that's really important because a lot of people, it's easy to know they might have the number, it's easy to find New Paltz PD or 911, right? But they might not know might not have immediate access to other numbers. We certainly that's why we did the Every Door direct mailing campaign to help get information into, our community's hands, so to speak, that they would have that little cheat sheet of numbers that they can contact, right? But to have a resource such as New Paltz PD that knows who can call and what questions to ask to help direct and guide, and who works with the mobile mental health team. And thank you for bringing that up. This video, we're going to be there are actually two to three interviews that we're doing with different teams of folks, and one of our other interviews is going to be with the director of the mobile mental health unit, as well as Tamara Cooper from Family of Woodstock, who is the director of their crisis line, and Linda Guglielmo of Astor Child and Family Services, so that people will be able to receive some information from them. I want to really thank those of you who are watching or listening, if this is in the background while you're tending to something. We are going to be having a live Q&A session with all of our responders and mental health providers on Tuesday night, December 1st, from starting at 7 p.m. It'll be via the Zoom platform, and you'll be able to get that link so that if you have specific questions, you can tune in and ask those questions. And we will do our best to provide you with the information that you're seeking. We'll have another interview coming up momentarily with Chief Matt Goodnow from New Paltz Rescue, because I know that New Paltz Rescue and New Paltz PD really work very closely in a lot of situations. So he'll be able to talk a little bit more about that, as well as what how New Paltz Rescue Squad, responds in those times of crisis as well. So as we put this part of the interview to a close, I'll just again thank everybody. Jim, Phil, Rob, is there anything additional that you want to make sure gets said before we put a pause on this part of our conversation? No? We're good?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, thank you everybody for watching, and we will look forward to seeing you at the December 1st Q&A night. So, Chief Goodnow, thank you so much for all that you do for the community and for being part of this important conversation. As I had mentioned earlier, a lot of people are concerned, not sure how to handle situations where they might encounter someone who's experiencing a mental health crisis. And here in New Paltz, we know that we have a lot of resources and people who are navigating through these difficult times every day. And you and your team are certainly part of that group. So if you could take a moment to just share with us what your experience is and how well you folks are trained in handling this, and offer whatever wisdom you have for our community.
Okay. Well, personally, I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And most of my providers are well-seasoned providers that have been doing this a very long time. 20 years ago, we didn't do such a good job of paying attention to mental health crises and looking at them as a mental health emergency. But over the years, we've increased our level of training. All of my staff goes through mental health first aid and responding to mental health emergencies. We do this every day. We come in contact with every call we go on, whether it's a medical or a specific mental health emergency, has some sort of mental health aspect to it. Somebody who's having chest pain or a cardiac emergency has a level of anxiety and stress that we have to work them through. So we're talking to people every day, every call, to work them through the toughest times of their life. We don't get to come in contact with people on a good day. We're always coming in contact with people on their worst day. So every time we step out of that ambulance, we're prepared to have to pay attention to the patient's mental health. And we work in tandem with the New Paltz Police Department. They respond on all our emergencies with us. They're also highly trained. So we can work together to get through these emergencies by taking different approaches. Where we can tag team things with the healthcare provider, paramedic, and then the police officer, who all have the best for the patient in mind. So that works very well. And then occasionally we get to work with mobile mental health. They're another service that occasionally we run into. Typically we see them when they're already on a call and they're already providing their service, and then we have to come in to help. Once in a while we come into a situation where we're lucky enough that we can call them in. But often our calls we respond to are severe emergencies where we de-escalate the situation and transport to the hospital for further help.
When people are experiencing, and we're going to be doing more of this in our community Q&A night on December 1st, where folks will actually be able to, they'll be able to call in via Zoom, be able to
Zoom in.
Zoom in and ask questions specifically and hear more practical kinds of things. But, is there one thing that you would like to, offer, or in a way of reassurance? Because I really also, in the earlier part of our conversation with New Paltz PD, we got to hear about their extensive training in crisis, response. And I liked how that you were talking about how much you work in tandem and kind of tag teaming, because I think sometimes folks are uncertain as to who they should call first.
Right.
So can you just offer maybe a little clarity on that, or assurance as to which way to go, or whichever number they call?
Honestly, you're going to get both of us either way. We respond literally together for our safety and for the patient's safety. New Paltz PD with their vast experience and my crews with their vast experience, we respond together. So you can call either of us and you're going to get the same response. If you call 911, the dispatcher is going to be there for you, and they're going to work you through your emergency until we get there, whichever get there first. Often, depending on where we are in town, sometimes New Paltz Police gets there first, or if we're over near the rescue squad, sometimes we get there first. It doesn't matter, because either way, you're getting a trained provider who's there to help you. And that's one thing to remember when it comes to these emergencies, is that everybody who's coming is there to help you. The police aren't looking for an arrest. They're not looking, to cause any problems. We're all there to help you in your emergency. We've all gone through something like this, being first responders, police, fire, EMS, we've all gone through some pretty tough times because we see some pretty bad stuff. And luckily, lately, we've kind of turned the tide and started to pay attention to our mental health. So we understand your situation, and we're there to help.
Well, thank you so much for all that you do. The more I get to really listen to you, the greater my appreciation grows for the work that you and your team do, and the way that you are there for all of us 24/7, 365.
Thank
right?
you.
So thank you for taking this time out of your very busy day to offer this for us as part of our video outreach. We're doing everything we can to really try to help get information out to the community and help people feel more comfortable to make that call, and to know that, and more importantly too, to know that they're not alone, that there are so many resources available in times like these.
Absolutely.
So I wish you well for the rest of your day, and I'll look forward to seeing you at our December 1st evening. And thanks again, Chief.
Yep. Thank you.